at least from my side. He's good people's.
Where is he posting that, though? Does he have access to the show?
No, I think he sent it to Heather, maybe, and she put it here.
That's amazing.
So I'm wondering if... Okay, so we'll follow up on anyone who has already donated.
I think we did go through...
There's some new ones here.
Oh, there's some new ones in there.
There's some new ones here. So
Cell sent the doc to
Crafty.
Because I
Okay.
was doing all this porn bot stuff, so he's been trying to do all the donation stuff.
All right, so you're on Pornbot detail. Crafty will be on donation detail.
Yeah.
We're good. Thanks.
All right, got it?
All right, yep. So anyone who happened to donate on my half that didn't get a shout out or their comment read, we will be doing that during the after party. So
That sounds like a great idea.
thanks, Crafty. Thanks for taking over for Cell. You're doing great.
Speaking of porn bots, hello everyone and welcome to Awesome Hardware.
Perfect segue.
This is a live show. We talk about technology. We have a few drinks. Occasionally we use adult language, so watch out for that. Don't watch the show if you don't like an occasional curse word.
Blah.
Or some light drinking, of course. Today's show is episode number 191, and we already did half of the show. It's on Kyle's channel, Bitwit, which is linked in the video description. We stream the whole show Tuesday evenings at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time to each of our YouTube channels and also to twitch.tv/awesomehardware. So a huge thank you and welcome or re-welcome or thanks for staying around to all of you guys who are watching live.
Word.
And if you're watching in the future, check the video description if you want to find links to any of the stories we're talking about or what else. I don't know. There's other important stuff down there.
I should put my links in my description.
You should. That'd be useful.
You're very good at that.
I mean, I try to point that out every time, and it has absolutely nothing to do with me feeling a sense of superiority because you don't do it. It's not there at all.
It's working because every time you say it, I do feel inferior. I'm like, oh God, I didn't do it again. Oh, I should really be doing that.
I have like kind of a method that I go through when I do the show, and that's just always kind of been part of it is taking that and dropping it in there. So
your adulting is stronger than mine.
It's really just a matter of sort of integrating that into your standard procedure.
Yes, of course. The subliminal messaging is.
Oh my God, Zero Chance is watching from the future. That's amazing.
What? Zero Chance?
Yeah.
Who's that?
He's watching from the future.
Okay.
We'll find out. We'll find out eventually.
It's not creepy.
That's the point. If you guys like our shows or the content we make, or you just want to buy some super sweet merchandise, check out our stores. Yeah. PulseHardware.net for mine.
Yeah.
Shirts, mugs, pint glasses. They're all real nice. I've really never heard. No, I've never sold any. These are all. You'll be the first time owner of any single one of these products. No, I was gonna say we've never really gotten. I've never gotten a complaint about the products that we sell.
Neither have I.
Like, I've never had anyone come back and be like, it's not... Really?
Oh.
You gotta use the other side of it.
Yeah, I'm failing.
Really?
No.
This one?
Just you close it. You don't even need to open it.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
And
then... You never used one of those?
This is the best wine opener ever. It's really great. It's got the 2-stage thing for wine opening.
It's good for wine, too?
Yeah, and it's got the bottle open on there for bottles. Anyway.
Is this sold on your store?
No, I should get some though. That's a good idea.
That's a good idea.
Some wine openers. All right. Cheers! Thanks to you guys for joining us.
Thank you guys.
Kyle's drinking whiskey.
Bullet Rye.
Kyle,
Winner of champions.
But Wifey Sauce is here to drive Kyle home, which is why
She is.
we always encourage everyone to feel free to join us if you want to drink.
Drink responsibly.
Please drink responsibly though, and that kind of thing. Kyle's store is bitwit.tech/store.
Sure is.
He also has a wide variety of merchandise. It's all sourced from the same place. If you buy stuff while we're doing the live show, we will shout out your name at the end of the show or in the after party. And if you buy from both of our stores, it'll get shipped together. You get a little bit of a shipping discount refund.
That's true.
And
The more you buy, the more you save.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. All right. Let's move into tech news.
Let's do it. What do we got, Paul?
Push the button. It didn't work.
What's on the list?
Oh, because I pushed the wrong button. That's why. News. Tech news.
All
right. So first off,
exciting.
We have a bit of a correction from a story we talked about, I think, last week. Was that last week? Because we talked about... We already know X590 is the new chipset that's coming out to go along with the release of the Ryzen 3000 series processors.
Right.
Pardon me, that are coming out on July 7th, or 7/7, because they're 7 nanometer. We talked last week about the potential of an X590 chipset based on some documentation from some motherboard manufacturers and whatnot. That, according to Gamers Nexus, dubious source, dubious, at best. But they say they
At best.
given that Kyle's wearing a Gamer's Nexus shirt, we probably
Yeah.
should.
Dubious shirt as well.
Anyway, Steve reports, the article is written up by Eric Hamilton though, but Steve reports that X590 not going to be a thing, or at least not going to be a thing in the context that we expected it to potentially be a thing. This was probably early documentation, possibly early plans that they had in place to possibly do an X570 chipset and an X590 chipset, differentiating them by X590 having PCI Express Gen 4 support
Right.
and X570 not having that support. So they're potentially going to do a couple tiers of higher end motherboards, and I, for one, am glad that they did not. They apparently have gone with the decision to only do X570, X570 having Gen 4 support, but if there is going to be an X590, it's probably potentially going to be a Threadripper 3 chipset. There's already been a lot of rumors flying around about Threadripper 3. It makes sense. We already have EPYC chips based on 7 nanometer, and them taking that same EPYC configuration and translating it down to a high-end desktop implementation like they did with earlier versions of EPYC and Threadripper 1 and 2
Sure.
would make a lot of sense.
Yep.
And for those of us at home who get excited about this sort of thing, the potential for like up to 64 core high-end desktop platforms. So that's
fun.
That's kind of fun. That's kind of fun. Like for all the excitement about Ryzen 3000 and everything, like if AMD in a couple months is going to be like, oh yeah, and here's Threadripper 3
Yeah.
with that kind of core count like configuration, like,
It's insane.
my goodness, AMD's
Crushing it.
spitting hot fire recently.
They're on a
I
good one.
really hope the benchmarks and everything back up all of the hype and everything.
Yep.
But all right. Beyond that, this is actually from a. I mean, a lot of you guys probably follow Gamers Nexus, so you probably watched their news video yesterday, so you might be aware of this stuff, but we're repeating it nonetheless.
Yeah.
The second thing from this set of data was the B550 and A520 silicon that they're talking about ASMedia creating. Now, I was given the impression at some point that B550 was just not going to be a thing. That they were going to have X570 as like the Halo product, the high end, for the mainstream high end.
Mm-hmm.
And then for people who wanted to spend less or didn't need all those features, you'd just still have B450 and A4, whatever the other stupid A chipset is.
320 A4.
I've never paid
A420.
attention to it.
Neither did I.
But it does appear, according to this information, that there is a B550 and A520 chipset in the works, which might be good news for people who are looking for more recent launches of current platform stuff and not wanting to go with last-gen products, last-gen to some degree. According to the article, which is sourced from DigiTimes, which requires a membership, which Steve pays for, but then he takes the information and writes it here for us. What a good job, Steve. Thanks for doing it.
It's like piracy.
But ASMedia is on the hook to produce these chips. Expectation is for the motherboards based on them to arrive in early 2020. So B450 right now, and I think still going forward, we still need to wait for tests on the on the X570 versus the B450 and everything, just to give us an idea, like, is there really any performance difference there and anything like that. I think B450 is still a very viable budget option, and there's lots of good motherboards based on that.
I almost don't see a point for B550.
Yes.
Which is why it was so plausible that there wouldn't be a B550, because what are you really getting out of it that B450 doesn't deliver?
And so the question remains, and it's not answered by this article, is whether, if these new chipsets are going to come out, do they support PCI Express Gen 4? It would kind of make sense for them not to, again, to keep that the sort of Halo feature for the X570 chipset. But at the same time, like Kyle said, what's the point then of making B550 and A520 if there's not some level of support for that? Mm-hmm. So we will have to wait and see. There might be more limited support, fewer lanes, some Gen 4 lanes and some Gen 3. It's hard to say for sure. For now, B450 is probably going to remain the best budget option if you don't need that PCI Express Gen 4 support. And honestly, right now, or for the foreseeable future, at least this year, there's going to be no point to PCI Express Gen 4 beyond people using really high-end, super fast NVMe SSDs.
Yeah.
Which are pretty awesome because they go up to like 5,000 megabytes a second reads and upwards of 4,000 megabytes per second writes.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool on a single drive.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me wrong. But not everyone needs that.
Yeah.
So, anyway, pick your poison.
I need it.
Some new stuff coming out soon, but X590 is probably not going to be it. Moving on. Hero's looking at his junk over there. Hero! Hero, you're having too much fun. Okay, sorry about that.
Plot twist. He's the porn bot.
This is an article from the Washington Post, which does have a pay gate. Actually, anyway.
Pay gate?
Yeah, Washington Post. You have to pay if you want to read the
pay
articles.
gate. Okay, I thought
You
you said
can
peg.
you can read up to 4 or 5 in a single instance,
Bleh.
or just open them in an incognito tab and you can read as many as you want. Anyway, point being, this dude Jeffrey Fowler, the guy who wrote the article, did a bunch of testing with Chrome, and he found that my goodness, is there a lot of tracking going on. This is an opinion piece, but for anyone who's concerned about privacy, or is concerned about being tracked, or is just concerned about the level of information that a lot of online companies are getting at now, that is apparently being aided and abetted by Google's Chrome browser. It's pretty out of hand, and if you look at the numbers. He took a deep dive into Chrome's handling of data. He ran experiments on how it operates under the hood. In one test, he found a week's worth of web browsing uncovered over 11,000 requests for tracking cookies that Chrome allowed by default. All of which Firefox, because he was doing a comparison test between Chrome and Firefox, automatically blocked. We've talked about some recent updates to Chrome that are going to seriously disable the vast majority of the abilities for ad blockers, such as uBlock Origin, which we recommend you use, which we also are happy if you whitelist us on, but we totally don't blame you if you don't, because, man, a lot of ads are very invasive, and especially it really makes sense to run an ad blocker for general internet usage these days. Chrome welcomed trackers even at private sites. He claims Aetna and federal student aid sites set cookies for Facebook and Google, which in turn told the tech companies whenever he would pull up the insurance and loan services login pages. He also said Google signs him into his own account. So for the cost of that convenience of this website just knows who I am and I can go ahead and blah blah. You're giving up a lot of potentially personal information. For some people, that might not be a big deal. For others, that might feel invasive and like they're pantsing you. They're just looking at your bare ass, and there's nothing you can do about it.
It's not a good image.
I don't know. That's one way of putting it. Point being, Firefox has many more privacy protections by default. Mozilla, the Mozilla developer referenced in the article, said Firefox offers enhanced tracking protection and that privacy shouldn't be an option for users to manage with switches and dials. So basically, not saying sure, you can do stuff to Chrome and get add-ons and various things like that might give you a little bit more enhanced privacy, but it shouldn't be up to you to go in and do that. The browser should sort of default to, a certain level of privacy and security for you. Fowler also says he found that there was no way to defang Chrome, but he claims it's not as simple as opening up an incognito tab. Changing browsers is the simplest and most effective solution. So if you guys didn't notice...
And it's funny because I came over today to Paul's house and he was like, oh, setting up the stream's a little bit different because I'm using Firefox now. And I was like, you switched over to Firefox too? Because I literally just switched over I've been using Google Chrome forever. I literally switched over earlier this week, and then I go to Paul's, and he's like, yeah, I switched too. So it just seems, there's a lot of reasons.
To be more specific, pretty much every system I have has both Firefox and Chrome both installed.
Same.
And I typically use them as interchangeable browsers. I usually have logged in on some stuff in one and logged in on some stuff in another, and I find that to be convenient in certain ways.
No, I have multiple browsers on every system.
But Chrome is typically
my go-to.
the first one that I load up.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna be switching that over to Firefox. So,
Yep.
so there we go. Firefox.
It's been good.
Cheers, Mozilla team. If any of you guys are
Cheers!
out there. Yeah.
Cheers to the Firefox.
All right, let's move on.
Security.
We're just gonna talk some quick trash
Trash.
about EA, which
love-
is easy to do.
I love talking smack.
Did you hear about this? This is from almost a
some
week
shit.
ago, so it's already been sort of chewed on. But it's up to us to bring up and continue to point at stuff like this.
Yep.
EA had a discussion about loot boxes. This was sort of an interesting venue
discussion.
for it too, because representatives from both EA and Epic actually met with the UK, the United Kingdom's Parliament's Digital Culture, Media and Sport Committee, which covers a wide, pretty much that's all like
everything in the
entertainment.
world.
That's all the entertainment in the world right
Everything
now.
we know.
They have been investigating addictive and immersive technologies, however, and this led to a variety of interesting situations. For instance, Prince Harry was there.
Prince Harry.
No, he wasn't there. Prince Harry has criticized Fortnite in the past.
Really?
Yeah.
Prince Harry has an opinion on Fortnite?
Of course, yeah. He says.
Wow, let's learn
he
about
says it
that.
shouldn't be allowed
No,
because social media is dangerous and stuff like that.
because of social media.
Gamer article. Prince Harry is the Duke of Sussex,
Duke of Sussex.
Knight Commander of the Royal Victorian Order, personal aide de camp of Her Majesty the Queen Elizabeth II. Long may she reign.
King of Dragons.
Ruler of the Andals and the First Men.
The Breaker of Chains.
Breaker of Chains, Mother of Dragons. That's so much fun. Okay. What was I talking about?
I'm sure he gets that all the time.
Anyway, right, that's what I would say. All right. But apart from Prince Harry's criticism of Fortnite, Carrie Hopkins, who is the VP of Legal and Government Affairs for EA, was asked about loot boxes, which have been outlawed in some European countries, including Belgium and another cool country who wants to be like Belgium. But who's the other one? I forget.
France. Because
France?
they're all competing to have the best fries.
Really?
Belgian fries, French fries.
No.
It's a bad joke.
Okay.
Just pretend it didn't happen. Let's move on quickly. Getting nervous.
I feel like I should be able to read in this.
Anxiety.
I'm really having a difficult time. Anyway, point being,
Chat seems to hate Harry.
she was asked about loot boxes
No one
and
likes
whether they're ethical, and she said, yes, of course, they're ethical. They're ethical and fun, and
ethical
by the way, EA doesn't call them loot boxes. They're called surprise mechanics.
That sounds way
Because-
funner
because-
and less.
Yes.
It sounds way more innocuous.
Because loot boxes has
Gambling
gained a
connotation.
negative connotation. Surprise mechanics. Oh, it's like,
It's like, it's like a birthday
what a
party.
wonderful surprise.
What did I get?
Yeah,
How innocent.
and that's what they're calling them. So,
Surprise mechanics.
Hero, what are you doing?
Wow, marketing is really
Hero.
everything. He's like
Hero,
coughing up another dog.
Hero, stop it. Yeah,
Hero.
my goodness,
Yo, puppy.
he's a big boy.
Boy.
They compared them to toys that you get a little surprise in, like a Kinder Egg or
it's
Hatchimals.
Totally the same.
Which, yeah,
I remember gambling for all of my McDonald's toys
Yeah,
and the
and-
Happy Meals, just
and a lot
rolling
of
the dice.
a lot of the time, what it boils down to for stuff like this is whether or not the prizes in loot boxes can be traded for monetary value. And,
They can,
and a lot
of
of
course.
a lot of the time they can. So
Yeah.
it varies from game to game. I think, like, if you want to get rid of all the fluff and whatever other nonsense stuff that is talked about, and them calling it surprise mechanics versus whatever else, you're talking about large companies that have a bottom line to try to meet, and that often try to make as much money as possible out of whatever their property happens to be. EA's property is lots of different video games, and the model of having extra stuff that you can buy in game on top of whatever initial upfront cost you pay has proven to be extremely lucrative, especially for certain games that have gained a lot of popularity. Hero hates that type of game. EA has tried to recreate this in many different senses, but they've often fallen flat because they get ahead of themselves before attempting to create an awesome game that lots of people will play, and then like, oh, okay, lots of people playing this, let's try to like milk more money from it by adding stuff that people can buy. They go about it the other way. Like, how can we possibly monetize this game in the most ways possible while it's currently in development?
Right.
Then you have games that launch, and people are like, well, this game is just a money suck. It's just constantly trying to sell me stuff.
It's more about making it a business than a game.
Exactly. So, and loot boxes
Sucks out all the
are
fun.
among the more egregious offenders in this category. So,
Yeah.
really, all people are asking EA is just like make good fun games, and stop seeming constantly like you're just trying to maximize profits.
Right.
Like
It's so obvious.
like there's so many good game developers out there who just like really want to like use their creativity and whatever to make it an awesome experience for people out there.
Yeah.
And then you have the marketing or whatever the business people come in and are like, we need to monetize this, and it's just shitty.
Yeah.
It's like everything that's good,
Right.
some big company has to buy up and then try to milk as much profit as possible as it can out of it. That's like invariable.
Do you know if
Inescapable.
like the loot boxes in question are like performance upgrades, or if they're just cosmetic, or if it's a mixture of both? Are there any like differing schools of thought, between what type of loot boxes are available?
No.
Or is just the general consensus is that they're all bad, even if it's for cosmetic?
This is like
kind of a
an
general-
inquiry in the UK, and like members of parliament are asking and stuff like that. So I don't think they quite drilled down to that level of detail when it comes to like specific different games that use different loot boxes.
Yeah.
They were referring, I believe, to FIFA quite a bit.
I'm not too familiar with how the loot boxes work in that
But,
game.
but I think FIFA is also quite a significant cash cow for them.
Yeah.
Because the football very popular.
Okay. Some
Very
people in chat
popular
are saying that the FIFA loot boxes are play to win.
Pay to win, yeah.
Or pay to win.
You
Yeah,
don't
which
wanna
is
do that either.
terrible. Like, I honestly don't have a problem with. Well, here's the thing. It's weird. Like, from a developer's standpoint, like, I don't have a problem with loot boxes if they're just cosmetic. However, if they can be, or if they are traded and sold for real money, then I can see that being a real problem for, kids who are now gambling to get loot boxes so they can sell them for real cash and buy other things or whatever. It's like consequential. It's like it's not the loot boxes itself that are a problem. If it's just cosmetic, it's not the loot boxes itself that's the issue, but what they can kind of lead to. If they're traded and sold for real money, then it becomes a serious issue. Obviously, the pay-to-win loot boxes, where it's like this actually helps you gain an advantage in game, either competitively or through the campaign or whatever against other players, there's a huge moral dilemma there that I just definitely don't agree with. Cosmetic thing is a slippery slope. I feel like cosmetics is like you can phrase it and disguise it in such a way where it seems harmless, but if there's this underground market of like trading CSGO skins, for example, that are just purely cosmetic, but still have a lot of real money involved that is changing hands between like 12-year-olds, there's something really wrong with that too. So I feel like, I don't know, is there any regulation? Like there needs to be some sort of regulation at some point if this is the way it's going to be. I don't know.
I think for a lot of online business models, and I'm going broader here, not just video games and everything, but like a lot of music streaming services, for example. Like a lot of these services where their goal is to sort of rope you into paying a monthly fee, or to rope you into paying money over and over again for something like a loot box or something like a season pass or something like that. Like I think a lot of people, or I'll speak for myself. I'm getting sick of a lot of it. I mean,
yeah.
And for me, I kind of want to revert back to the old model in a lot of certain ways. Like, I'm less interested in paying the monthly fee for the online music service where suddenly, their deal with a certain record label is going to go down, and
Right.
I'm going to lose access to a third of the library or something like that.
Sure.
Versus that to just like my own personal MP3 library that I'm downloading and saving locally and having saved on my devices. Similar to like, I kind of want to veer back towards games that just have a simpler model of like, here's our game.
Here's a game.
Pay us $40 for it,
And play it.
or $40 to $60, depending on
The end.
what it's worth. And now you have the game,
There's nothing
and
else.
you never have to deal with ads in the game or
Yeah.
something in the game making you feel like you're not getting the full game
Inferior.
experience unless you're paying more money,
Right.
or anything like that. Just like, here's the it's a simpler model. Hails back to a simpler time.
Yeah.
Um,
NES days.
But that's kind of what I've been feeling recently. Anyway,
I totally am right there with you, man.
brief aside, but
Crazy world we live in.
let's move on to PCI Express Gen 4, which we talked a little bit about on Kyle's half, and we mentioned the only real use for PCI Express Gen 4 right now, or in the near future, is super fast NVMe SSDs. So kind of good in the instance that for people who don't really need extremely fast storage, you can probably get by with something like a B450 motherboard. Don't necessarily need to get onto that PCI Express Gen 4 train right away. Also very nice for people who were like, wow, I do video editing or something else that deals with a lot of heavy I/O on a drive. These are freaking amazing. So how much is it going to cost? Is what I was trying to get to.
$249.
$249.
1 terabyte.
1 terabyte. At
It's
least
not bad, actually.
that is the pricing for Corsair's next-gen PCI Express 4.0 SSDs, which are now available on Amazon
That's pretty
for
reasonable.
pre-sale. Still pre-sale, so we typically don't recommend that. But yeah, article from PC Gamer here also lists some competing SSDs and their pricing. Like a 970 Evo Plus 1 terabyte is $218. WD Black SN750 1 terabyte, $216. So that's not that much more. I mean,
Right.
$250.
Yeah, that's pretty comparable.
And considering the significant bump up in performance, because there's really only one controller made by Phison. It's going to be available right at launch. There's others that are going to come out, but that Phison controller is pretty impressive in and of itself.
Yeah.
All of the drives are going to have similar performance, because
Right.
all that's really going to matter is the NAND that they've paired it up with.
Sure.
And we're looking
Cooling.
at 4,000 megabytes per second, or 4 gigabytes per second writes, 5,000
Insane.
megabytes per second, or 5 gigabytes per second reads.
Compared to like 1,500.
That's like 10 times the performance of a SATA SSD, a SATA Rev 3 6 gigabit per second SSD.
Yeah.
10 times jump. That's a lot.
It's nuts.
So a lot of people who are currently running SATA RAID arrays or even high-end NVMe RAID arrays can get that equivalent performance with a single drive with these new drives. So I'm happy that it appears that they're not launching at an insane price.
Yeah.
It's still expensive, don't get me wrong. You can get a 1 terabyte SATA or a lower end NVMe SSD like a 660p that uses QLC flash or something like that. You can get that for around $110 to $120.
Yeah.
So you're still looking at probably a little bit more than double the price per gigabyte compared to something like that. But of course, you're getting much more impressive performance.
Yeah, for the people who actually need that kind of throughput, it's well worth it.
Yeah.
It's very reasonable pricing.
Specifically, if you're interested, the ratings for this Corsair MP600, 4,950 megabytes per second sequential read. The 970 Evo Plus tops out at 3,500 megabytes per second. So it's a nice jump there.
That's nuts.
It's a nice jump. SN750 goes to about 3,470. So yeah.
And then just imagine like some of the demos that I was seeing at Computex where they were rating, 2 or 3 of these things together, or 4 of them together for PCIe Gen 4.
Yeah.
You can get speeds up to 15,000 megabytes a second.
Yeah, that's
read.
ridiculous.
Sequential reads. Like, I hope I can test that at some point. That just sounds insane. Especially, if you're editing like 4K or 8K video. In the film industry, I could see a big shift in the film industry, especially because there's this huge emphasis on 8K now, on 8K video. I should talk to Chris about this. I'm sure he has some light to shed on it. But that was one of the demos that they showed at the AMD press event just before E3 was I think it was a RAID array that they had with PCIe Gen 4, several NVMe drives playing just regular playback at 1x speed, real time on an 8K workflow, and it was just buttery smooth, just playing like a regular video. Whereas I think on PCIe Gen 3, the equivalent setup was chugging along pretty consistently. It was pretty choppy and stuff. So this is a big deal. This is a really big deal. I think it's probably the biggest feature that Ryzen 3000 brings to the table, honestly, for content creation.
It's bold statement, Kyle. Bold.
We'll see. I'm a bold man.
But all right, for those of you who are looking to the next generation and kind of trying to suss out pricing and expectations, maybe that gives you a little bit better idea of how much money you need to save to invest. And yes, a couple people in chat were asking if raid's going to be a thing. Yes, absolutely it is.
Crafty's apparently in charge. Crafty, whatever raid you want us to promote, even if it's please don't let it be porn related because we're already trying to kill all the porn bots. But anything you want, man. Just put in the show doc and we'll get to it.
And welcome, Cell. Enjoy the show.
Hey, Cell.
Cell's here, but he's not moderating. He's just chilling.
He's
and
chilling.
Enjoying the glorious viewing of us and the things we say.
And what's it like being on the other side,
I
Sal?
don't know. He's not going to want to moderate anymore because he realizes how awesome it is.
You just had an
to listen
Office
to
Space
us.
moment.
All right. Final news bit story from my half is this EVGA thing. This went out in their newsletter. A lot of you guys who have purchased EVGA cards in the past, well, a lot of people who I've talked to have spoken highly of them for various reasons. Their customer service is pretty high up there among those reasons, and I will absolutely back up anyone who wants to say that. I would agree.
Yeah.
However, they also have a long history of interesting trade-in deals for people who have maybe a slightly older card who are looking to potentially upgrade it.
Okay.
To that end, they just sent out a newsletter for an event that is starting tomorrow, or an opportunity that's starting tomorrow. I'm not sure if
Is this still part of their Step Up program?
I don't know if it's exactly part of their Step Up program. That's not in any of the documentation here. But for anyone who has a 900 series or 700 series NVIDIA graphics card, EVGA specifically, I guess, you'd have to have EVGA. You are going to be able to trade it in to get credit towards a 20 series card.
Okay.
Now, there's two aspects to this I want to point out here. First off, trading in a 900 or 700 series card, if it's a reasonable trade-in value. And to be clear, that is not specified here.
That's what it says, though, if it's a reasonable trade-in value?
No, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
If EVGA is giving a reasonable price for these trade-ins,
I see.
and if you have a 700 series card, and look, I've got a visual aid here. Hey, damn it, Kyle.
Oh, Scott.
Get out of my way. I found a use for this card. Here, like this.
Is that a kingpin?
Like that right there. No, it's a classified.
Oh,
though.
classified.
It's classified. Here, hold that. Thank you, Kyle.
I'll be your Vanna White.
This is a 770 classified. Absolutely drool-worthy card in its time.
Oh, yeah.
I would debate the efficacy of getting the classified series card with a 770. There's also a 780 and 780 Ti classified card that I feel like might have been a better investment at the time. 770, you're going for a more price to performance area. Anyway, the
70 series are
classified
the
cards are always absolutely overbuilt and good job. So if you have one of these cards, they're not pulling their weight quite as much as they used to. So taking like a 700 series card, trading it in, getting maybe a $100 to $200 credit for it towards a card that you want to upgrade to, maybe that's a good deal for you. Not 100% of the time though, because you have to also consider, if I were to just put this card up on Craigslist or eBay
How much
or
could you
something
get
like
for it
that,
there?
how much could I get for it in cash?
Right.
That's really what you're weighing in your mind here.
Right.
The benefit here of going through EVGA is you don't have to worry about putting up a sale, meeting some sketchy dude from Craigslist, who wants to like trade you crack or something like that for
Sure.
their card instead of money, and like changes the meeting location at the last second.
Right.
And
It's a
then they-
reputable source.
Yeah. So reputable source and everything
Quick
like
and
that.
easy.
And maybe all you really want to do is upgrade to a 20 series card.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's a perfect solution for you.
So they just apply that exact balance to towards.
No, so that's what I was trying to get at. They have not said exactly how much money you're going to get for your card that you trade in. I was trying to find their actual wording here because they do say it specifically. Oh,
Jesus.
Here, this is all they say.
Alien dog.
This is all they say.
Significant
That's all they say. These are the words that they're saying as far as the dollar value that you might get for your trade-in. A significant discount on a 20 series card.
Such a subjective word.
So
Significant.
we've got to wait, and you guys follow up tomorrow. This launches tomorrow. I'm kind of curious how much they're going to be offering people for their 700 series cards,
Right.
900 series cards, and
Right.
so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Second part of this, though, which I'm going to say is a bad idea, 0% financing for 12 months. Now,
Have a payment plan on your GPU.
guys, just to be absolutely clear here, I am not a fiduciary. I am not a financial advisor.
He's not your finance guy.
But where I'm coming from here, don't finance a graphics card.
There are bigger adult things to worry
Like,
about.
if you've got the money to spend, and you've been saving, and you've got that cash to spend on it, dive in here. Don't finance it. Don't buy something with such a precipitous fall off in value.
Yeah.
That a year from now, as you're making that payment, you're gonna be like, man, this. Just it's a bad.
It's just hammering you over the head. Month after month, it's going to seem like a
yeah.
worse idea. Every month, it's going to seem like a worse idea, and there's going to be more regret that seeps in. If you want it now, buy it, and it's going to be great. But if you can't afford it, all in one...
There's a tiny cutout of people, and apparently, I was reading a few comments on this and everything. There's a tiny cutout of people, and maybe this is more common in the EU or something like that. I have no idea. But there's a small number of people who are that careful and confident with their money, because this is a 0% financing offer.
Sure.
So if you pay it off within 12 months, you're not paying any extra
it's
cost
exactly
for the
the cost
financing
of
or
the
anything
card.
like that. So
Sure.
you're paying the cost of the card. If you're that kind of person, that small percentage of people that can be like, yes, I have this financial plan and this much that I save, and I'm going to put that towards a graphics card, then yes, there's a small number of people who this will work for.
Sure.
But I'm going to say most people just don't. Spend money that you have, not that you're going to have in the future.
Right.
That's just my advice.
I feel like this is like set up for kids, like kids who maybe have like a $50 allowance every month.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, mom and dad, I'll give you $50 to mow the lawn every week, for the next 12 months if you get me this graphics card. And like, okay, in a perfect world, that'll probably work out smoothly and there won't be any issues there. But I feel like like most buyers, like Paul said, are either going to be able to pay this and afford it in one lump sum, or if you really are struggling that badly where you need to space out your payments on a graphics card, maybe you should consider using that money on more important things.
Or maybe just consider that you don't need a 2080 Ti or a 2080 or whatever. Like you can still game.
Gotta get that ray tracing, Paul.
There's lots of graphics cards that you can still play your video games with.
Gotta get that
cost,
sweet light.
$100 or $200.
Trace that light path.
Or like you're trading in a 900 series card.
I need
you're
it.
Probably still doing fine with that 900 series card for for 1080 gaming.
That's tracing none of the rays.
Yeah. So I hope EVGA appreciates that I've promoted their offer here, but also that I recommend no people to do the financing option.
No one use it.
Anyway,
Also, just want to point out, just FYI, that
the 770 classified is just badass.
That this super high-end, like high-end for its time, graphics card, classified, premium, has no backplate.
See, that was before we started being like, where's the backplate, EVGA?
It's just a little cosmetic detail that
You're right, though.
says a lot about how far we've come.
Yeah, I mean, you go back to the 700
This
series
is-
time frame, like
Yeah,
a backplate. It's a backplate has become
it's just a given.
such a like a
Standardization.
given. Like you don't launch a nice graphics card
Without a fucking backplate.
without a backplate these days. So
How spoiled we are.
people are saying their GTX 680s have backplates. You're right.
Well, bully for you.
Backplate just traps in the heat. Nobody. All right, now we get into a backplate argument.
Actually, a secondary heat
All right.
makes direct contact with the memories. All right. I don't know where
That
that.
was offensive, Kyle. All right, guys, my half is going to be slightly short
Hey.
Today because I want to move on to the after party.
Hey-o.
Because that's where the action actually happens.
Hey-o, hey-o.
So check out the link in the description if you want to move on to the after party on YouTube.
Yes.
If you're watching on Twitch, just don't do anything. You can continue to watch Kyle drink whiskey, and we will answer some of your questions and read some donation comments, and we'll go over Johnson's. I'm going to play Overwatch.
Okay.
I'm excited about that. All right, we'll
We
be
should
right
play-
back, guys.